First Schmotable of 2017. I'm your host, Shake and Bake, here with Divock. And Divock, it is championship weekend and playoff weekend in the football world.
Yeah, so Bama Clemson, probably the most anticipated championship game for quite a while. The rematch, right?
Yeah, the rematch.
And I think we saw Bama and Clemson both play two well inferior opponents.
Which I believe both of us picked Ohio State, did we not?
We did, because we didn't realize how bad the Big Ten is.
I think we were. I believe I said in our Schmotable bowl pick'em that I think Clemson isn't getting their fair shot, but it's hard to pick against Urban Meyer.
Yep.
And I was both right and wrong in an odd situation.
I think we both overestimated Urban Meyer a little bit.
Well, hell, the whole country. I don't think we overestimated Urban Meyer. I think that's unfair. I think we overrated how just terrible JT Barrett is. That guy sucks.
Yeah, he's bad.
I mean, since he snapped his ankle his freshman year, he just hasn't been anything.
Right, but I think you look at the conferences as a whole, and you look at the Big Ten and the Pac-12 were the two big losers of the bowl season. And
absolutely,
the Pac-12, they went 0-6 against the spread. They didn't cover a single game.
Oof.
They won two games. Utah beat Indiana, and USC beat Penn State. And then you have the Big Ten. They covered Minnesota.
7.
Minnesota, they covered in, I think, 4 games. Minnesota beat, but 3 of those games were against Pac-12 teams. So you had Minnesota beating Washington State. You had Northwestern beat Pittsburgh. Those were their 2 wins. And then you had Penn State covered against USC. And I think they had one more. One more cover. Indiana covered against Utah. So, but overall, it just plays to how inferior those two conferences were compared to the ACC and the SEC and even the Big 12.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bad bowl season for both conferences, and a lot more goes into judging a conference than just bowl season, but it certainly leaves a bad taste in your mouth. But let's get back to the matchup. Yeah. You know where my heart is, Divock, but when you look at this matchup, I look at a team in Alabama who's trying to finish the first 15-0 season ever in college football history. Has a little bit of turmoil, if as people want to describe it as, with the switch from Lane Kiffin to Steve Sarkisian, and you have a team in Clemson who has all kinds of motivation with the revenge factor. What are you, from just a pure matchup standpoint, what are you really looking at for Monday night?
Well, I've already put my bet in on Alabama -6.5.
It's a good bet.
So what I looked at was last year Clemson backdoored the spread.
Yes, they did. Yeah, they got that late touchdown.
Major backdoor.
I remember I was in the stadium in Phoenix last year in Glendale, and you just heard half the crowd groan.
Yep.
Because it wasn't because it was Alabama fans being like, oh no, here comes Clemson's comeback with 45 seconds left. It was, oh my God, we all just lost money.
Yep. And the other thing I'm looking at is the public is hammering Clemson in this game. I mean, they're up to 60%. We're betting on Clemson, betting against Alabama, which is absurd considering Alabama is usually just, people love betting on Alabama. And you don't bet against Alabama. You don't do it. It's like the Patriots.
They're betting against Alabama as far as the spread goes because of the fact that Clemson backdoored the spread last year?
No, they're betting on because Clemson looked so good against Ohio State. That's why they're doing it. And Alabama, I guess, looked would you say they looked bad against Washington? I don't know.
No, but as we've seen time and time again, any of us in the sporting world will find ways to take shots at Alabama when they can because there aren't often times to take them. And yeah, the the Alabama-Washington performance wasn't perfect by a stretch. You had kind of the national coming out party for Bo Scarborough, which a lot of us Alabama fans had been waiting for. You had some struggles with Jalen Hurts in the passing game. You had some offensive line issues. but you had another defensive touchdown. The defense didn't let anyone move on them. Washington had that one perfect drive, which was their first or second drive of the game, and that's about it. They didn't move the ball forward after that.
Right. So they had all these issues, and they still covered the spread by 7 points, right?
Yeah.
So, for me, you don't bet against Alabama. Like the Patriots, you don't bet against Alabama to that level. 40% bet, only 40% bet in Alabama. I'm taking Alabama to win and win. I'll take Alabama. Let's call it 34-24.
Okay. Wow. I'm about to say I'm kind of even shocked that you think it's going to be that high scoring. I'm obviously taking Alabama. I just think that as good as Clemson is, they aren't going to have a run game. And speaking of the run game, the one play that Clemson just murdered Ohio State on time and time again was that shotgun fake pitch to the running back. Deshaun Watson takes it off left tackle or right tackle, and it was an automatic first down every time. It was unbelievable how Ohio State fell for that time and time again. And I just think that Nick Saban and the defensive staff are going to see that. That play isn't going to be there. Deshaun Watson is going to be the running game because the backs are going to be shut down as everyone's backs are. And if Deshaun Watson makes a ton of perfect throws, they can win. But that's a tall order against a team that doesn't let in a lot of perfect throws. A, and B, from a guy who's thrown 17 interceptions this year.
Right.
We all know what Alabama does with interceptions. So I'm going to take the Tide, and I'm going to take them 27-14.
Okay, I like it. And I had a lot of my Bears friends texting me, "Oh, you got to take Deshaun Watson." And
many Bears fans. Deshaun Watson is a very popular man here in Chicago. A lot of Bears fans.
I don't think he's gonna turn out to be too good for an NFL quarterback.
That's a Schmotable for another day, I think.
That is. But so what is your take on the Lane Kiffin situation?
Joey Saltwater. Now that he's moving down to South Florida. My issue was, we don't see what goes behind the scenes. I've been asked this question a lot this past week. I believe that Lane Kiffin put together a game plan. I don't think he half-assed it, but I think when it came down to it, he was just mentally exhausted from trying to work 2 jobs. And, the kind of general cues were like, oh, well, it's Florida Atlantic. It's not that hard a job. Like, they're not even good. I was like, well, that's why it's such a hard job, is because he has to put so much effort into making them good because he wants to win. We know Lane Kiffin's competitive. He might be an asshole, but he's competitive. Mm-hmm. And I just think him and Nick sat down and decided it was best for both of them. If Lane was able to help them with practice all week, help kind of ease Sarkisian in. And I just think he's going to move down to South Florida now. Probably, I assume he's not going with the team to Tampa. But he'll be down in South Florida chasing bikinis, whistling at floozies, and that'll be his life and coaching football.
Boca Raton, right? Boca
Raton, yeah. So I just
Boca Raton Bowl. He's got a future in the Boca Raton Bowl.
Oh yeah, that's hopefully that's going to be Lane Kiffin's favorite bowl from now on.
Yeah, he's gonna put on the whiteboard for the season. Boca Raton Bowl. We're gonna stay home, boys.
Yeah. But I just think it's overblown because of the hype of the scenario.
Yeah.
Obviously Lane Kiffin and Nick Saban's relationship has been on blast since the moment it started. It is what it is. I'm not expecting too much of a change. Hell, Steve Sarkisian might even try and run the ball more.
That would be a good thing. Give us that Scarborough a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think I think it's overblown. I loved what Lane Kiffin did in his 3 years at Alabama. I have more respect for him than I ever had before, but I just think that he felt that he couldn't give both his jobs fair justice. Mm-hmm. That being said, as far as his career goes, I think it's a mistake simply because, or a mistake by him, not to kind of push off Florida Atlantic for one more week, for 2 weeks, the week before the week before the Peach Bowl, and the week before the national title. Because if he wins, and kind of as Tom Herman did heading to Houston, look how much momentum Todd Herman had going into recruiting at Houston. And Houston, while has a much more football lineage than FAU does, walking around with an extra Alabama championship ring certainly helps sway some of those kids in South Florida who have better offers than the FAU.
Yeah. It's they might pick FAU over Florida International now. So
I think that's fair. I think that's a matchup we're going to have to monitor closely here.
That's right.
Especially for some solid gambling picks. But
for some
Divock, so I think the consensus is we're taking the Tide.
We are both big Alabama fans on Monday.
Love that. Big fan. Let's move on to the pros, which starts this afternoon.
Yeah.
And you and I have kind of talked about this all week. You wrote a sensational article about it for the Schmo Zone about just how fucking terrible this wild card weekend is, especially this Saturday afternoon matchup between the Texans and the Raiders.
Texans and the Raiders is an abortion of a football game.
Just crap.
It's bad. And so you got Connor Cook making his first NFL start for the Raiders. He's the first quarterback ever to make a playoff start as his first NFL start. And then on the other side, you have the $72 million man,
Brock Osweiler.
Brock Osweiler, which is by far the worst quarterback matchup, probably in playoff history, but I'll call it this millennium since 2000.
I personally can't think of a time when there have been QBs that have gone down and had like a nice playoff game or something like that, but I don't know if I've ever seen two teams who aren't playing their starting quarterback going into a playoff game.
Well, Osweiler is the starting quarterback.
Well, no, he was benched for Tom Savage.
He was benched for Macho Man Tom Savage, but
big fan of Tom Savage, by the way. Always been rooting for that guy.
I like to call him Macho Man, but that's the only reason why I like him. He's pretty bad otherwise, but no, I mean, he's their starter. I mean, they put him Macho Man. He's I don't know if he's hurt but they went with Osweiler.
Yeah,
and it's probably the right decision because they both stink. So
I until I watched on Christmas Eve, because I'm a glutton for punishment, I made myself watch the Bengals-Texans game for no reason.
Yes.
And I just, I knew Brock Osweiler was bad all year. Like, I knew it because I watched highlights and watched, games week to week, things like that. But until you look at the totals of his stats for this season, you really don't understand how bad he is. And so, like, those who are listening, I encourage you, if you really have some kind of angst or some kind of really bad feeling towards Brock Osweiler, even just having a bad day and you need to make yourself feel better, go take a look at the box or the season stats for Brock Osweiler. They are just pathetic.
It's bad. He hasn't thrown for 300 yards this season from the game.
No.
And he drops back, 35 plus times a game.
Yeah.
Generally.
And he has one
game against Denver. That game against Denver. Oh my goodness.
And he has what's even amazing, especially with I think he has, like a 54% completion percentage, something terrible.
Yeah.
And he has one of the best receiving running backs in the NFL to dump it off to, time and time again. And Lamar Miller.
Has he even made a catch this season? I don't think he's made a catch. Has he made a catch this season? I feel like he's not even part of it.
Not utilized, at least. I mean, especially from a guy coming from a Bill Belichickian kind of offense and Bill O'Brien, but then you look at the other side and poor Connor Cook. I think,
or maybe lucky Connor Cook. He's got to pick Brock Osweiler in his first career NFL start.
That's true, but we have to remember that Connor Cook already has a playoff start. He started in the playoffs last year.
And I was there to personally witness that one too.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Oh, that's just rough.
Oh boy.
And the Texans defense isn't the Bama of the NFL, but they're still a really athletic, get after the quarterback, make you pay kind of defense. And he just has to be thinking, what the hell is going on? How do I put myself in this situation again? When you have, I had Tim Williams and Jonathan Allen last year, and this year I have Jadeveon Clowney and Whitney Merciless and a cast of others.
Right. And Donald Penn is also out for
Donald Penn is out. I mean, obviously the Raiders still have a great offensive line outside of Penn, but he's a big piece. So, Divock, tell us of all from this matchup, because it's the one that has to be highlighted. Who did you pick to lay your bet on? Because I know you bet on it.
Yeah, unfortunately, I did. I took the points. I took the Raiders +4. I'm not. This has a field. I think it has a field goal game written all over it.
It totally does.
And I just can't fathom the fact that Brock Osweiler was more than a field goal favorite in the playoffs. Like how did this happen? Where are we at in society today? Apparently, Mike Gundy.
Well, Trump is about to be president. We're only days away.
That's true.
I mean, the only reason that honestly I could take the Raiders in this as bad as Brock is only because the Raiders' skill players are so much better than the Texans.
They are.
Like, you have Amari Cooper, you have Michael Crabtree, Clive Walford is a pretty good tight end. You have 3 running backs who can all catch the ball. But
I like the Raiders' defense. I like the
Raiders' defense.
They make plays. I don't know if the Raiders will win. Actually, I think you'll see Houston win, but I think it will come down to I like the 4 points.
I think that's fair. And then you look around the rest of the NFL, kind of moving away from the just atrocity that is this 3:30 Central Time kickoff.
Yeah, don't watch if you're a fan of football.
I'm gonna be.
If you're a fan of gambling,
I'm gonna be in the airport. I'll probably be watching.
Oh boy. If you're a fan of gambling, you can watch.
Yeah, that's fair.
If you're a fan of football, I won't watch it.
That's fair. I'm stuck in between. That's kind of a twilight zone for me.
Yeah.
But I mean, then you have Steelers, Dolphins, Lions, Seahawks, and Giants, Packers.
The Giants Packers is the big one. I love that game.
That should be a spectacular game.
My personal feeling is that Tom Brady's going to be in the Super Bowl this year with the New England Patriots.
I think it's almost inevitable unless the Steelers defense comes back from just a pretty average season.
So, well, I'm going to say Tom Brady's going to make the Super Bowl. There's only one man in football who has Tom Brady's number. He's Tom Brady's kryptonite, and that's Mr. Eli Manning.
It's true.
There's only one man, and you know what? Both times when Eli got his team to the Super Bowl, it was his wild card. On the road, he won 2 games at Lambeau.
And they've gone through Lambeau every time. So why not just start there?
As many playoff games at Lambeau as Aaron Rodgers. So I'm gonna say I'm taking the Giants. I'm gonna say the Giants run through, and they got a great defense, just like their past teams.
Yep.
I'm gonna say they run through the NFC, even with McAdoo. Even that McAdoo.
Benny with the good hair.
Benny with the good hair. I would say they run through the NFC and make the Super Bowl.
Why not?
Why not?
Why not?
So NFC's wide open. Why not?
I agree. Because I don't trust the Cowboys.
I don't either.
I should.
You think you're gonna pick a rookie? You're gonna pick a rookie quarterback go to the Super Bowl?
It's not even the rookie quarterback. It's because that offense manages itself. Let's be real here.
Mm-hmm.
I just think I don't trust a defense that doesn't create turnovers or get to the quarterback to win you playoff games.
Yep, good.
That is so key, and that's why actually the Texans and the Raiders are kind of like a perfect matchup for each other, because while neither team currently is in that greatest situation, because the Texans offense stinks, both quarterbacks are an issue, and the Raiders defense isn't great. What the Raiders defense does do, and the Texans defense, both of them do, is get after the quarterback and cause turnovers, which causes problems. So you can mask Brock Osweiler if you make Connor Cook throw 3 picks and sack him 3 times.
Yep.
Just like you can do it the same way you can hide Connor Cook if Khalil Mack has 2 defensive touchdowns, 6 sacks, and some of the other parts of the defense help out too.
For sure. No, that's a great point.
Yeah.
And, NFC, it's all about who you trust in the NFC. And I don't think there's a team in the NFC that you can trust.
The only team I kind of trust is the Seahawks.
Do you know?
But
do you trust
this year's version of the Seahawks?
You trust the past year's version of the Seahawks. This year's version is the most one of the most.
I trust Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson and that defense, and not really any other offensive player besides maybe Jimmy Graham and Doug Baldwin, because their line is so bad.
Their line is bad.
Materialized.
Earl Thomas isn't there.
Earl Thomas isn't there. That's a good point. Yeah, God.
You trust? I can name a million things more I trust in the Falcons. So
that's true, but a lot of it isn't in the playoffs, though. For the Falcons, is the problem.
Well, they had a chance against Kaepernick that one year, and they blew that lead.
They did.
And then the Lions aren't going to make it, and then the Packers defense is still bad. Like their secondary is not good at all.
It's not, but they seem to make up for it somehow.
They do. Aaron Rodgers makes up for it.
That too. That also helps. Having him score a lot of points helps.
But it'll be.
It should be a stunningly average group of playoffs, at least for this weekend.
It will be. The Pittsburgh-Miami one is not too enticing.
That is going to be the second rendition. Obviously, Miami beat Pittsburgh earlier in the year, and that's kind of what we learned about.
That's not happening.
Equate this playoff matchup to that Sunday night game of when Pittsburgh destroyed Kansas City, like the third week of the year.
Yeah.
Like it's just going to be Ben is going to throw it up to Antonio Brown and two other receivers, and they're going to catch it every time.
Yeah,
that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, the Dolphins defense is bad. Maybe they're 10-point underdogs. Rarely will you ever see double-digit underdogs in the wild card.
It ain't going to happen.
Yep, it's not.
Sorry, Dolphins.
Matt Moore is not.
Nope.
So sorry, Dolphins fans. And then Seahawks Detroit. I mean, that's an 8-point spread. I can see it being close. I mean, Seattle they don't seem to have that killer instinct this year. They just can't, when they're supposed to win big, they can't win big. I mean, Housh just missed extra points.
It's true. It's a wonky year in the NFL. There's not a lot to trust, and this. I mean, I'm going to place my bets today on my way to and at the airport, but I just don't know. Like at this point, I might need to take another look at the spreads and such.
Yeah, the spreads are tough.
Yeah,
they're going to be tough. Even that 10. I mean, you're going to take a double-digit favorite in the wild card round. Take some balls there. I mean, that's a lot of points. 10 is a lot of points. You can be down 17. You can backdoor that in the last minute.
Yeah.
So it should be I'm not too excited for the wild card run. I mean, I'm not too excited for the AFC playoffs in general. I'm excited for the Packers-Giants game, and I'm excited for. I think the Seahawks-Lions game could be good.
It could be. I don't expect it to because I think the Lions are a little overrated, especially without Matthew Stafford's finger being at full health.
Yeah, his finger's a major problem.
But I think that's our Schmotable for today, ladies and gentlemen. Please keep tuning in. Follow us on the Schmozone.
You know what you can do? You can listen to this instead of watching the Raiders-Texans game.
That you can. You'll get about the same effect. A lot of laughter. And maybe some groans.
A couple groans.
Lots of laughs.
And you want to listen to, I don't know if Joe Buck's announcing that game, but you want to listen to him.
Didn't even think about it.
He's not announcing that one. He'd be announcing Packers. He'll be announcing Packers Giants for sure.
Ooh. Oh.
Yeah.
All right, Schmoes. Well, I'm off to the airport. Tampa awaits.
Tampa. Have fun at the game.
I will. Please, follow along on our Facebook page. I'll be posting some Facebook Live photos on game day, as well as on our Schmozone Snapchat and my personal Snapchat, BL Shake and Bake. Please follow along, guys, and roll Tide.
Roll Tide. I'm saying it too. Roll Tide. Let's do it. Have a safe flight. Have a safe flight, Shake and Bake.
Thanks, Divock.
All right.